In a small town nestled between rolling green hills, there lived a young woman named Clara. Clara was known for her kind heart and simple nature. She worked as a waitress in a cozy little cafe, spending her days serving coffee and pastries to the locals. Though her life was humble, Clara found joy in small things, helping her neighbors, tending to her tiny flower garden, and dreaming of a brighter future. One chilly afternoon, as Clara was walking home from work, she noticed an elderly woman struggling to carry a bag of groceries. The woman's frail hands trembled and her steps were unsteady. Without hesitation, Clara rushed over. "Let me help you," Clara said gently, taking the heavy bag from the woman's hands. The elderly woman, whose name was Margaret, looked up with tired eyes and managed a weak smile. "Thank you, dear. These old legs aren't what they used to be." Clara offered her arm for support. "Where do you live? I'll walk you home." Margaret hesitated for a moment before pointing toward a small, weathered house at the end of the street. As they walked, Margaret shared snippets of her life. She lived alone, her children were far away, and her days were often lonely. Clara listened intently, her heart aching for the woman. When they reached Margaret's house, Clara helped her inside and put away the groceries. Before leaving, she said, "If you ever need help, just let me know. I'm happy to lend a hand." Margaret's eyes glistened with tears. "You're a kind soul, Clara. Thank you." From that day on, Clara visited Margaret regularly. She brought homemade soup, helped with chores, and kept her company. Their bond grew stronger, and Margaret often remarked that Clara felt like the daughter she never had. One day, while dusting Margaret's bookshelf, Clara noticed an old photograph. It showed a young man in a sharp suit standing beside a sleek car. He had a striking resemblance to someone Clara had seen in the news. Curious, she asked, "Who is this?" Margaret's face softened. "That's my son, Alexander. He's a very busy man, always traveling for work. We've grown apart over the years." Clara's heart sank. She couldn't imagine how painful it must be for Margaret to feel so distant from her own child. "Have you tried reaching out to him?" Margaret shook her head. "I don't want to be a burden. He has his own life now." Determined to help, Clara decided to write a letter to Alexander, explaining how much his mother missed him. She didn't expect much, but she hoped it might spark a change. Weeks passed, and there was no response. Clara kept her efforts secret from Margaret, not wanting to give her false hope. One evening, as Clara was leaving Margaret's house, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. A tall, handsome man stepped out, his sharp features illuminated by the streetlight. Clara recognized him immediately. Alexander Bennett, the CEO of a billion-dollar corporation. Alexander approached the house with a mix of urgency and hesitation. Clara stood frozen, unsure of what to say. "Are you Clara?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, you must be Alexander." "I got your letter," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for looking after my mother. I had no idea she was struggling." Clara stepped aside to let him in. Margaret's face lit up when she saw her son, tears streaming down her cheeks as they embraced. It was a heartwarming reunion, and Clara quietly slipped out to give them privacy. Over the following weeks, Alexander visited Margaret regularly. He was deeply grateful to Clara for bringing them back together, and he made it a point to get to know her. They spent time talking about Margaret, their lives, and their dreams. Despite their different worlds, they found common ground in their shared love for Margaret and their desire to make her happy. One day, Alexander invited Clara out for coffee. As they sat in a quiet corner of the cafe, he said, "You've done so much for my mother. I don't know how to thank you." Clara smiled. Seeing her happy is thanks enough. Alexander's gaze lingered on her. "You're an incredible person, Clara. I've never met anyone like you." Their connection deepened, and over time they fell in love. It wasn't a whirlwind romance, but a steady, genuine bond built on trust and mutual respect. Margaret couldn't have been happier to see her son and Clara together. But their happiness was tested when a secret from the past surfaced. Clara discovered that Margaret had once been disowned by her wealthy family for marrying a man they deemed unsuitable. Margaret's estrangement from her own family mirrored Alexander's previous distance from her, and it explained her reluctance to reach out to him. Clara encouraged Alexander to confront this truth with his mother. Together they visited Margaret's estranged relatives, hoping to mend old wounds. It was an emotional journey filled with tears, apologies, and forgiveness. Margaret's family welcomed her back, and she felt a sense of closure she had longed for. In the end, Clara and Alexander's love story became a symbol of hope and reconciliation. They got married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. Margaret, radiant with joy, gave a heartfelt toast, thanking Clara for not only saving her life, but also healing her family. Clara's act of kindness had set off a chain of events that transformed their lives. She had never imagined that helping an old lady with groceries would lead to finding love and uniting a fractured family. It was a reminder that small acts of kindness could lead to the most extraordinary outcomes. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.